The car tyres skid, jolting me back to the reality of the speeding vehicle. We are momentarily stuck as the tyres spin hopelessly in the mud, and the driver revs the engine. He switches gears, and we thrust forward. Round the back, there's a short road to the stables and cottages, and then a small car park, I say, double-checking the instructions on my phone. Staff entrance, he questions, with a single raised eyebrow. Yep, I say, nodding, then stare wistfully out of the window. The back of the house is just as grand, but arguably more beautiful than the front. The ground drops away from a pebbled courtyard and rose garden down to a river, which I can hear but not see. The stables sit about 100 metres to the side of the house, and the car pulls to a halt between them and a trio of small stone cottages. I look back at the house, which is barely in view through a small grove of oaks. The largest of the 3 cottages has wood smoke rising in pleasing spirals from the squat chimney, and there's a small slate and silver sign on the wooden door that I can just make out. Staff only. This is it, I say, getting out and handing the driver £200 in Scottish notes, trying not to wince as I say goodbye to all the money I had left in the world. Thanks for the ride. Who knew you could get to the West Coast in under 1.5 hours from Inverness? It must be a world record. He looks inordinately proud. There are about a dozen cars in the car park, a white van, some 4-wheel drives, a few of those big, black, expensive-looking SUVs, and a couple of golf carts. But still no humans. A dog barks once, far in the distance, the sound echoing ominously around the estate. I feel my anxiety blossom into full nerves. This is it, the literal end of the road, and potentially the craziest thing I'd done since walking out on that stupid West End play, right before my first line. Hope you enjoy Scotland, lass, the driver says, then takes off with a screech of tyres on gravel. I knock a few times on the wooden door. For late spring, it's far colder than I imagined, and my thin trench coat is proving a nonsense kind of cover-up for this weather. My phone beeps, and it's Tim. What do you mean? Confused emoji. I chuckle. He's so predictable. There is still no sign of anyone. Crossing my arms to try and brace myself from the icy breeze, I look around the courtyard for some sign of life. I can hear the horses scuffing at the hay-covered stone floor in the barn, and I can sense the smell of mossy earth. I lean forward to look through the small window of the end cottage, and a small motion light springs on, blinding me to my surroundings. Heather? I jump at the voice behind me. Deep, with a thick but soft Scottish accent. I hold my hand up to my face and try to make out the figure emerging from behind the white van. He is tall, dressed in chef's whites underneath a dark coat that is open and flapping in the wind, with a dark woolen beanie pulled down over his forehead. Tall, mysterious, and can poach an egg. I am instantly intrigued. Hello, yes, I am, that's me, I say, saluting him like a general, my nerves apparently turning me into a comedy idiot. We need you to start right away, he says nervously, pulling up the collar on his coat. Right this minute, I reply, desperate for a hot cup of tea and a shower. Our emergency cover fell into the River Aire while taking a tinkle, booms a posh English accent, as a much older, shorter man in a dark suit with a bulging belly arrives, dragging one of those fancy bellhop trolleys behind him. The light shines onto his reddish face, which is heavily lined but jolly. Hospitalised with exposure. Double exposure, I reply with a giggle. I can't resist, and he shoots me a wicked grin. I'm William, but everyone calls me Bill. And this is James, here to welcome you on behalf of the kitchen, he continues, glancing down at my bag. Well, I won't need the trolley. You travel light. Goodness gracious me. You should have seen last night's late arrival. Poor night porter had to make a dozen trips up and down the stairs. And he's got a dicky leg. I don't like having more than I can manage on my own, I say, smiling at him. Well, I hope you bought some wellies, he says, glancing down at my shoes. No, I'll need to get some. And a coat. Didn't anyone notify Scotland it's May, for God's sake? I say, clutching at my arms. Northerly, they're bitter, even in summer, says Bill as he sticks the key into the lock of the cottage, and it makes a heavy thunk as he turns the old lock. He pushes the door open, but instead of showing me in, he pops my suitcase just inside and pulls the door shut.